Thank you very much. It's really good to being here and being an expectation from the previous presenters and maybe from yesterday presenters as working in a traditional bank. And is there anyone working in a bank here from the traditional bank which has buildings? Okay, please back me up after this presentation. Maybe I will need some support from you. Okay, it's working. What I would like to do is to give you some insight about what we are thinking about this current market situation, which we are calling up as a fintech, as startups, and what is in front of us and how we see these things are coming. Just a short introduction, because yesterday when I was discussing with some people, some colleagues, it turned out that in Poland a lot of people doesn't know what OTP is, which is quite funny for us because in Hungary it's something which when you are born, you know what OTP is. We are presented in 9 countries. We have 13 million customers, 25,000 employees, and we have 1,300 branches around these 9 countries. And just to kill the point at the beginning, we already have one full digital online bank in Russia, started last year. Very important to say, and here the startup, I would say that in the first 3 quarters, the result on the return on equity is almost 18%. This is very important for us, and I think this is something which very important for the startups also at the beginning. So what we see now is this hype around the fintechs, and everyone's talking about the fintechs, and what we see is that now the media says about the startups and the fintechs, and everyone's coming with the bright eyes and thinking that they will be the next Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs, and considering that within 2 years they will go to the Silicon Valley, they will live there, they will drive their Tesla car, and they thinking that it comes like a gift. No, 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 it does not come. For us, in a traditional bank, we used to say that we were working with fintechs 30 years from now. Previously, we called them as technical vendors. Now, they are called as fintech companies, but there were a lot of them. What we see is that we do have impact on the fintechs, not just on the point where usually in the media that the fintechs will eat the traditional banks, but we have impact, and yesterday there was a panel discussion which I fully agree with, that now to hire people in the traditional bank and to work in the banking industry, it's not as sexy as it was 10 years ago when there were high bonuses and there were pets. Now everyone wants to work in the fintech, wants to work in the startup. We do have impact on this. We need to manage this. The other topic which was covered yesterday partly here is the PSD2, which everyone considers will majorly change the banking industry in the next few years. Obviously, we are careful about that, but maybe not this is the one story which will drive us to dramatically change the banking environment, and especially inside what we do in the bank. But yesterday unfortunately I was not here for all the presentations, but I did not hear about the next big thing which will come. This is the immediate payment. This is something which is already on the plate in Hungary, and the National Bank of Hungary already started the discussions about the possible regulations of the immediate payment, which is already exists in the UK and in the European Union in some countries. And this is something which we consider will drive us to major changes in the banks, because our architecture, our environment is not built for like this. Is there anyone who knows what the immediate payment will change in the future? We will talk about 24/7 availability for payments, and the payment transaction has to be done within 5 seconds. So now the architecture and the IT way of working is very unlikely capable to do this. Regarding back to what we see with the fintechs and with the startups, and just to give a brief overview about the partnership approach which we see, obviously we have the competition, very few fintech companies which we see as competitive on our market, in our region. Obviously we have the cooperation approach which we see as we can gain together with the cooperation and we can get new features in our banks, we can get new business line in our banks, and obviously these companies can sell their products, can sell their people for us. And this is the buzzword of the second half of 2016, I believe, the competition. At the beginning of the year and the end of last year was about digital disruption. Everyone was eating the banks and disruptive technology. And the second half of this year, I always heard that the competition. The competition is something which we rather consider as the first step towards the cooperation. We are thinking that this is which usually goes between the traditional banks and the fintech companies. Because honestly, I believe that most of the fintech companies could barely survive without working together with the traditional banks, simply because of the financials. Just to give some insight about how and why the banks seems to be very slow and seems to be not moving fast enough. Yesterday there was a very good picture about that the big elephant is racing with the racing dogs. It was really funny, I really like that picture. But you need to know why the banks are thinking differently. The first of all, which I mentioned, and I came from the IT side of the banking, is the integration. The banks were built up 30, 20 years ago, and if you count that how many core banking replacement has been done in the last few years in the region or all about in Europe, very few of them. These old core banking systems and the entire architecture is built to be rock solid, built on the banking processes which are usually batch-driven processes. Therefore, these new technologies brings us big and new challenges for the future. The integration is something which we consider as a very important part in our life and in any cooperation with the fintech companies, because that will lead us to integrate a new business solution in 2 months or in 2 years. And obviously, we try to focus on to be integratable, the new solutions repeatably. And in our case, we are considering this to be ready for all the banks which we have in the region. The other thing is, which already mentioned here, is the bureaucracy and the regulatory compliance, which if we consider that the banks has to comply with all the regulations which are pretty strict, I would say. And even though the technology enables us to have much faster processes, much lighter processes, we are not able to do that because simply of the regulations. Obviously, we consider in the banking, and please don't repeat it in front of my colleagues, that our biggest competition is our legal department, which blocks us to make these. And I have to admit that they are responsible for the regulatory compliance. And unfortunately, this change very slowly. I hope that these changes which are initiated by this Fintech Hype, by the startups, and going towards the government area, it will speed up these changes also on the regulatory point of view, because this is the interest of all of us. And the third one, if you remember at the beginning when I presented our return on equity for the first 3 quarters, is that the business result. Sometimes when we see the presentations of the startups, the ideas which they came to us and try to sell the ideas and try to sell the products, it seems that it is absolutely going on the way that from the technological point of view it's feasible to do. Current technology enables to do something which from the market point of view and from the client point of view the demand is questionable. For us, we need to focus on to bring ideas, to bring new features in our bank where we can find the demand from the clients. Therefore, we see that what we invest in from our budget will return back. So, as you see in my presentation, I'm coming from a traditional bank. Even the presentation came from this PPT format instead of using our best startup, the Prezi. And I try to bring some fun of this. and I was asking our PR department to help me to let you understand how it goes now, and they came up with this picture, which maybe you will identify. It's not the funniest and not the sexiest movie this year, because it's not coming from the Star Wars, but the Lord of the Rings. But the situation is pretty much like this from the media, not from us. That there are the big banks which are trying to protect their walls and trying to protect what is happening, and there are the fintechs which are trying to attack. And please don't use this picture as the fintechs are the orcs and the banks are the elves. It's rather the situation. But who will be the winner in this fight? And what will be the result? From our point of view, we believe currently it's unpredictable, but for sure, the general winner has to be our clients, our customers. We have to work on new solutions, new features, new products, which will attract our customers, and our customers' life will be changed on the positive manner. And then, together with the startups, with the fintechs and the bank, we could gain also from these changes. Thank you very much.